Bonus Jake here with a video that I had hinted at in my Foam Night RX review. I mentioned that there was a blaster that came to mind that I absolutely had to compare it to, and that would be Captain Slug's Hypr. This one was actually purchased, I purchased this well over a year ago, and then I bought a second one. This one came from Captain Slug directly. The second one came from Silver Fox Industries, so I have experience with two of them from two different makers, but same exact design. Now, these differ wildly, but they both come in and around the $20 price point. This being $25, and this actually starting out at a base price of $20 from Captain Slug. So, very comparable with, small makers, 3D printed pistols that are single shot, different mechanisms for firing. This is more of a standard plunger tube design with a hammer prime, but it's band powered. So, neat on its own right there. And of course, while this uses a more standard power source, a spring, the brake action mechanism of being geared prime is kind of neat. Now, both of them are pocket pistols that are single shot. Both of them, of course, are 3D print. There is definitely an obvious size difference. There is an obvious quality difference too, unfortunately. Now, the maker, or at least the distributor of the Foam Night brand, actually commented in my RX review and had some points there to counter some of the things that I had mentioned. And that's actually nice to see some constructive feedback, given. And I do think that they could vastly improve this. But I have to review it as it sits right now. And as it sits right now, if you're to chronograph both of these, again, this one with Adventure Force half lengths, I have not had good consistent performance because, of course, they've literally load in, fall out. And they had countered that they used Worker Gen 3s and Adventure Force Pros. Well, that's what I tested with. And I also tested with Men Guns and Adventure Force Waffles, Econs, Busby Precise Pros, Nerf Elites, everything. I have a literal bin over here on my workbench that I just sit here and fire through the chronograph into my net. And I can get a pretty good test sample. Well, this little guy has continuously turned back 60s. That shot there was 63.3. The exact same batch of Adventure Force Pro darts loaded in to my Hypr is getting 80s. 79.6 for that one, and the previous one was 82.8 looking back on my chronograph. But the Hypr is significantly more powerful. And again, even a low shot is still in the upper 70s. So, while it is a little larger, the Hypr is, quicker to prime, being hammer primed, front load. So, your rate of fire is significantly better here because you can be priming with one hand while getting a dart ready with the other. And you can keep this up consistently. So, huge rate of fire bonus to the Hypr. By comparison, break, close, load, fire, break, close, load, fire, break, close, load, fire. That's much, much slower. And, if it's supposed to be a backup pistol, it's because you got a jam in your primary, and you had something that you pulled out of your pocket, or a little holster, and you need to keep up your fire until you have a momentary pause to clear a jam, or maybe you ran out of ammo on your primary, you ran out of your ready mags, and you're switching to something that you can use out of your dump pouch. Well, if you're operating out of a dump pouch like I do sometimes, and you've got like 100 to 200 darts in a large dump pouch, well, sometimes that's my go-to actual setup I run, is just a pistol and a dump pouch. This I would have to pass on over this if we're running single shot, because we actually do run sometimes a single shot pistol game. It's a hilariously fun setup, just low power but fun. It's active. You end up having to do a lot of running and scavenging, And this would be vastly superior to this. And coming in at the fact that it's a lower price point. I mean, it starts out at $20. Now, the other one I bought, I got it in all kinds of different custom filaments, and it ended up being in the 30s. But this was $25 plus shipping, and my actual total cost was almost $40. So I think it was $25 plus like 13 or 15 shipping. So, that ends up being 25 plus 13 is 38. And I got a fully custom one, which this one from Captain Slug has 3 different colors, and he only upcharged me like, I think, $250 for an additional color. And his customer service is really, really good. Because I actually, at first when I ordered it, I got a wrong color because one of them was, all my white parts came in as red. When of course my colors are, these colors, black, orange, and white. Well, he made it right instantly. So I can speak to that. I haven't had any dealings with Foam Night, on a customer service basis. But comparing one for one, there's a clear and obvious choice here. And that's the Hypr. Whether you get it from Captain Slug or whether you get it through Silver Fox, the Hypr is actually really nice. It's really fun. I got my wife one, and she likes hers as well. So, and the bands are really easy to replace. And going into a reliability, I've heard a lot of telltale stories of breakages with the RX. I've not heard anything with anybody with a Hypr, and mine's been through the ringer. I mean, it's been used a lot. So, no issues here, personally. And while mine has not had a failure, I do have a crack overrating the pivot, which I mentioned in my review. So, in a direct versus style comparison, performance, pricing, availability, because Foam Night tends to have a little bit of availability issues once in a while, and you have 2 different sources for a Hypr, Captain Slug or Silver Fox. It's hard not to pick this. The only reason to pick this would be the uniqueness. I mean, the geared mechanism for priming is genuinely neat and original, and I have a soft spot for neat original ideas. But other than compactness, because this is definitely smaller, it's really the only advantage. It would be uniqueness and compactness, and this isn't that much bigger, and it's actually kind of unique itself. So it's hard not. It would be almost impossible for me to recommend the RX over a Hypr. So if you're looking for a really neat little single-shot 3D printed pistol, check out Captain Slug's Hypr, available through Captain Slug or through Silver Fox. I will put links to both sources in the description of the video. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.